Alright, working on our main bearing now. I'm going to set up my Timken bearing. So this is the spacer that came out of it. It's 268 and a half. So I like to add a little extra to that. The biggest thing I got is 269 and a half. So I'm only picking up a thou at most. I don't have very many of these, so all these other ones are less. Yep. Makes it hard to do extra work. I have bags of all the other styles out there. These are for Sportsters. And I have bags and bags of Big Twin ones. Later model Big Twin. Alright, so I'm going to see how bad this is and see what I got to do to make it what I want. I used to make shims for shimming them, and I used to have some floating around someplace, but putting my hands on it tonight is probably not going to happen. Alright, so we're going to try this and see what we come up with. Wipe the goo off of it. Oh, appears I lost the spring now. Alright, so here's our case. So we'll go ahead and press this together in the case and see what we get. So we mix these up. Not a clean, they're just basically identical. Yeah, half a thou now. Quit cleaning stuff, makes it worse. Alright, so we'll press this together, see what I got. If it's not enough, we're going to have to do something about that. So, one thing I can do is I can take out the center spacer in there and grind it a little bit and get a little extra. Alright, so that's going to go in there. Use a tube to press it in. You set the press on this other side with. Big block. Alright, we'll press this together a little bit. Tripod's hooking on junk. So we're going to do that over here. There you go. Uh-oh. It don't fit. No, it does. Ooh, what was that? What was that? I gave it a big grunt and it moved a bunch. tight. So, that's what we got right now. Spins nice and freely. Don't have any wiggle to it, see? Very tight. This is like factory clearance. It's way too tight for a hot rod motor. If you leave them run tight like that, this insert will get knocked out of the case because the flywheel is going to flex at higher RPM. If you try to restrain it, it will break. Not it, it'll break whatever it's attached to, which will be, in this case, your cases. Okay, so I need a thicker spacer, which I don't have. So I'm going to have to go hunt for a shim real quick. If I don't see a shim, I'll have to press this case apart, change out that center spacer in the middle, grind it down a little bit, do something, get more clearance. Probably what I'll wind up doing anyway. Okay, we'll be back in a minute, or a couple minutes. Okay, I'm pushing the bike together. This is what the center spacer looks like between the bearing races. The bearing race, they go in between the two cups. So this is the second one I had. It was 1 thou bigger than the one that was in it. So I ground off about 2 thou, thou and a half, 2 thou. So now I'm getting ready to press it back together so I can see what I got. Nice. Nice and loose now. Like I like them. Except it's still a little tight for me, but a movement. Well, the Timken, you have to rotate a couple times because the Timkins will drop down the taper and make it tighter than it should be. All right. So now, it's got a little jiggle in it. That's in play. I don't know if you can see the in play. It's not super tight, but, or I mean loose, but it's a nice race fit. I run them a lot looser than that. I like 3 times that clearance from other bikes. But for this application, that'd be pretty good. Alright, so we got that pretty well handled. So this pretty much gets everything all fitted up. So we got the main bearing fitted now. pinion shaft is fitted. We get all the stuff in the cam cover fitted. We got the oil pump fitted. Got a lot of fitted stuff going on here. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the crank together. So let me get everything apart and we'll get ready to do that. Okay, I forgot a very important step. You got to screw this case race in here, or retainer in here right now. That's why I fitted the bearing up beforehand. Unlike a newer bike where you just put the bearing in there and you beat the sealant and you're done, this one here you have to tighten this up. And this actually holds the bearing holds the bearing races inside the case. Because there's a snap ring on the outside edge right here on the inside. This can all come out this side unless you have this retainer screwed in to hold it in. So this one here has a seal in it, unlike the stock ones that don't. So you have to get all this tightened up. Now there's not much here to tighten against. Very little area. So I use the press to tighten with. So that you can tighten them up. So that means you have to pre-assemble everything here. That's why I pre-fitted the bearing over there. So this can all go together right now. Kind of important. Alright. So there's the tools that requirement is for assembly. And a little bit of assembly lube too. Let me get this over here. Alright, get this set up here. This is how I take them apart too. You have to have something to hold it together. That's what the press's job is. Alright, I need a little assembly lube. It's kind of hard to lube the bearing when it's all assembled. It can be done, but it's not easy. Oil just kind of falls in where it needs to go to, eventually. Here, working in. Okay, so I guess that all pre-assembled there. Okay, now we got to put this in there. That's the backwards thread, so that means you have to loosen it to tighten it. So it's a little spanner wrench. I think those are 3/16 dowels on the end of it. Now they make these in 2 thou up and over and under size. Colony does anyway, just a colony one. This one goes in pretty easy. Okay, we're just about in there now. Okay, so get it where you can situate it. And what I do is I take a big chunk of metal, stick on top of it. There you go. A couple fine. Centered up. Come down the hydraulic press. And just put just a little bit of pressure on it. Then you tighten up right like this by beating on it. All you do is hold the case. As you go down a little bit, you get a little more pressure on the bearings. You do it again. Okay, now you get a bigger hammer, so you got more beat, more tightening. It's better to hit it with a couple big blows than a bunch of little blows that just screw everything up. So use a little bit bigger hammer on it. Make sure you got pressure on it to hold it. It's nice to hit it accurately too. It should be pretty tight. Pull your spanner wrench out, and that's tight. Now Harley, they used to prick punch it so the threads so it wouldn't unscrew. I'm not going to do that. I'll put a little bit of Loctite in there. Let it seep in. So use a little bit of capillary Loctite. Capillary means it seeps in, wicks its way in, whatever you want to call it. Called a wicking grade. They used to call it capillary action, but anyway, it's 290. You can put on the outside of a bolt and it'll go in there and tighten it up. It also does the same thing on something like this. So you just take a little bit of it. Get a little flat blade screwdriver. Put a couple drops into your screwdriver, like that. And you come up here and put it right where you want it to go, which is right there. And it just kind of disappears. Starts soaking in. So I do that a couple times. Same thing, put a little drop. I just put it back in the same spot. It just goes away. It'll just soak right in there and eventually gets to the other side, or it goes down into the bearing, locks the bearing up. So you don't put too much in there. This one is pretty loose because it's just soaking it all up. So you don't want to go in the bearing, so I'm going to go ahead and get another shot. I got a lot on there that time. A little bit more than I need. So I'm going to go 180 around. And just let it go in there. It just soaks its way in. And that one's trying to get off the seal there. So you had so much in there. And when it soaks all the way around, you can see a green stripe around the thread, if the thread's tight. If there's a big gap to fill, it just disappears. Sometimes it comes out the other side. Depending on how big the holes are or gaps. It'll dry up on its own. So it pretty much all disappeared. I'm not going to put any more in there because I want to get in the bearings. But it'll soak in and do its sealing. Sometimes you come back a day later and do it again, and then it'll start building up because it filled in the void. It quits soaking through. If it keeps soaking through, it goes all the way through into the bearing, and the bearing don't work. That would be a problem. Okay. Now we can get to the crank. So get all that's ready to go.